it goes up and up for stats the more bases are taken in this map. So here we go, our final match from the round of 12. One of these players looking for a date with Maru in the quarterfinals. Oh, that's going to be good later. But right now we have to see who gets that opportunity. Starting in on Ephemeron in the bottom right-hand side from Jinair Green Wings. Our Red Protoss player is SOS.
His opponent in the blue, representing Africa Freaks, it is Stats. And we talk about SOS's aggression, but you know, it's not like he's this super cheesy player that has no idea how to macro. He's got very, very good macro. The thing is, he relies a lot more on, I guess, knowing to go for very decisive builds, as I was talking about earlier. But there's definitely a chance that we could be seeing him, you know, especially if he's scouted. I feel like the transitions here is something that he's going to have to master in this series, because you can't really like go for a build and expect to kill your opponent with it, right? Because then if it fails,
yeah,
if you rely entirely on that working from the get-go, then you're just going to lose behind it. But let's say SOS does like a very specific build that relies on doing damage, and that gets scouted. He needs to know how to react from there, how to transition into the next thing that he wants to do. Like players like Haz, they're very good at that. You know, they always anticipate how you're going to react upon scouting what they're doing, and they kind of counter that immediately after.
We're actually going to see SOS sends out a second probe here, and that's really cute because the two first probes ran past each other. So it's very hard for, you know, Stats looks at this and he says, oh, there's the probe in my main. But SOS has that second probe on the map, so I was actually, before he sent that out, about to say, you might see a very rare no proxy at all PvP. Now SOS is like, hell yeah, this is my perfect time to proxy, because is he going to be looking for it? Is he going to be expecting a second probe out on the map? That's going to become our question. It's all the way to the top of the map here as well. It's a decent Stargate positioning. It's absolutely the sort of place you can hide a Twilight Council and a Dark Shrine.
Yeah.
So let's see what SOS wants to do.
SOS wants to be aggressive. You know, we talked about it's 2 adepts here. Definitely means that he doesn't want to just sit at home, start a Nexus, and that proxy pylon. I'm feeling a Stargate here personally. And Stats, I mean, he saw that a probe scouted inside of his main base. It would be so easy for him to think, all right, that's it, I'm safe. I don't even need to check the corners of the map. And I mean, even the build of SOS kind of relies on that, right? Like if you send those stalkers in the corners, like at the top on the left-hand side, then adepts might find their way inside of your base, and then you're in big trouble.
You'll notice as well that SOS is so far ahead on like his supply counter. He's 33 out of 47 because he built another pylon in the main or on the natural to tell Stats, hey, this is my third pylon. You know, I really have nothing on the map at all. So he's been selling this idea from the very start. As 2 adepts of SOS will move up. There is the shield battery block, of course, as expected. Stats isn't completely convinced though, because he is building 1 shield battery on the natural expansion, and that is straight up just saying, hey, I'm a little bit intrigued.
He's getting one in the main base, I believe. Or is that in the wall?
I think it's just in the wall.
Ooh, actually, yeah. So, if he knew what's coming, I think he would obviously get one. There is no shield battery inside of the mineral line. Against an Oracle, you need that. And that's what SOS is going to rely on here. That Oracle in the production tab, look at it. It's about to finish.
Yeah.
It has so much potential to do a ton of damage. SOS is keeping Stats busy out on the map, chasing those adepts.
Yeah, and that's obviously frustrating. Now you don't have much anti in the main. Stalkers will be able to warp in from the warp gates though. And the shield battery isn't too far finishing as the Oracle's going to fly in a moment. I don't actually think it's going to do anything. Look at that timing from Stats.
Wow.
As the Oracle starts to deal damage, it's just going to go Stasis Warden instead. Yeah, perfect shield battery timing in the end. Just blindly playing safe is paying off very well for Stats.
And behind this, SOS is going for his own Nexus. He already dropped down a Twilight Council, which... Did he prevent the scouts from that?
Very, very close, right? So it's a tough one. No, he didn't. Okay, so he got the scout.
Yeah, I don't think you care that much. Like, you know that the opponent's going to be able to chain scout you anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was just blink, but there's definitely an opportunity to still do something tricky. Yeah, it's just going to be blink. SOS just with a very standard transition here.
Phoenix from Stats goes hunting for an Oracle, and we'll see how much more Stats does with the Stargate, of course, because at the moment, once Phoenix kind of does the job of pushing back an Oracle, and then kind of goes from there. He's got the robe up, he's got his Observer out. I do like how SOS said, okay, you're going to be building shield batteries, you're playing defensive, I will just take my Nexus here, I will just expand and start getting into that stage of the game. And the question now is, how aggressive does SOS want to be off of Blink? Is he going to stay on that for a long time? Is there an idea of what he's going to do behind that? These are all things we're going to find out based on when he starts up forges, robos, all that good stuff.
There's another proxy pylon at the bottom here from SOS. I kind of like that because it gives him a bunch of vision, extra vision to work with. If let's say like a War Prism was to fly through there, maybe a hallucinated Phoenix that he can then intercept to prevent more scouting. SOS, if you're him here in this series, you kind of want to keep stats guessing. Like you want him to be paranoid. You want him to keep on scouting and maybe make a little bit less probes than he usually would against, let's say, like a less aggressive opponent. We see stats relying so much on those hallucinated Phoenixes to scout here, but he still made it to that phase of the game where both players are on 2 bases. Stats is ahead in Walker, so we're kind of going to enter his comfort zone a little bit more. SOS with a pretty greedy 3rd base here without taking the gases on his Expo. If you stats and you scout this, no gases on the Expo, you're thinking, oh my god, I could be getting cheesed here by a lot of gateways. So he needs to confirm that 3rd base. He hasn't yet.
Yeah, he's got a couple of Adepts nearby. If he sees this, he may very well just start building up gates and going aggressive himself as well, right? So right now, SOS is kind of getting away with something that he really shouldn't be. He's got Stalkers to try and keep Stats busy. I like it if Stats comes out onto the map a bit. He does have 2 Immortals, and if those Stalkers are just stuck defending, it will be in trouble.
SOS's addition here with those gateways is kind of designed to counter that, though, because he went straight into charge. If he can get a lot of charge loads, this is just great against Immortals. So I think Stats might just take the later 3rd here upon realizing what's happening. Did he finally scout that 3rd base or not? I can't believe there is Adepts just... No, he hasn't!
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
How is that possible? He could have just shaded like one time, checked it. Yeah,
it's just crazy that they're just still sat there, right? And now, okay, now they're going to shade, and they're not even going to check the 3rd base. Okay, now he does turn around a little bit. He's going to see that completed, and Stats is going to be like, no way, you've already got a 3rd base up? And at this point, well, we'll see what Stats wants to do, because he has got gates of his own. He has got a much faster +1. He adds a Templar Archives in charge. There's a real possibility he does just go for a big Archon-based timing with +1 in charge being done.
Yeah, but SOS made a ton of gateways. Obviously, he will have less gas to work with because he still doesn't have the gases on his Expo. But in terms of Zealots, he's going to have a silly amount of Zealots. He's actually the one moving across the map.
Yeah, I mean, still no gas, right? So in a way, it's kind of just all in from I say all in, yet he's going into +1 as well. But he definitely has that swell in unit number.
He wants to swarm him.
Yeah, but the thing is, Stats is getting Archons. If Stats gets Archons up, they are such a good shutdown to those Zealots.
Stats is not really sure whether he should take the 3rd. I think he's a little bit suspicious that this attack might be coming, and he's very right in that. Adepts are going to find their way on the other side of the map here. SOS needs to defend. He's going to recall everything. He sees that there's no 3rd base. He's like, well, if you don't have that, I'm quite a bit ahead.
And the other scout here for Stats is now he sees gases on the 3rd base as well, right? So now he knows SOS is kind of done being on gateway only and Zealot heavy. So he can say, okay, maybe now I can just take that 3rd base. It's so funny that the guy on 2 bases is scared of the guy on 3 bases, but it is because SOS is playing on that later tech structure.
SOS is such a master of transitions. You know, like it would have been so easy to start thinking, oh, I'm so far behind. I went for a proxy Stargate, he did nothing. Use a stasis trap, I trapped 1 probe, like this is terrible. But no, he's like, well, he's paranoid. He's scouting all over the place. Maybe he misses that 3rd Nexus, and that's exactly what happened. And then now, he has an opportunity. If he takes the 2 gases on his natural base now, he's going to have so much more gas for a long time than Stats in terms of income. He's actually going to completely catch up on that. This Zealot amount is insane. He has so many Zealots.
It's actually kind of crazy because SOS is playing this PvP very similarly to how he played PvT yesterday. The threat of early aggression to then lead into a transition to then go from there and take that advantage and make the mid-game, you know, heavily favored for you. And, you know, right now, Stats is coming across the map, and yeah, the Immortal count is in his favor, absolutely.
It's a +2 timing. +2 is about to finish. He's got a Prism here in that location. There's a Stasis Trap here on that 3rd base. SOS will preset the Concave.
He's got Cannon as well. I mean, I'd just love to see maybe a couple extra shield batteries for SOS. But overall, it's going to come down to this upgrade. +2 versus +1, and obviously the Immortal count is there. The Archon count is in Stats' favor. Stats has a lot of tech on his side, which is what we've been seeing all game long. He sees the Stasis Ward, so he'll shut that down before it goes off, and that gives Stats a bit more freedom to push on in, which he's going to start to do.
Stats is going to attack in there. He's trying to make SOS attack into him, and then maybe he might just pull back force a really bad engagement out of SOS. Those Archons getting so much done. Guardian Shield is still active on both sides. The Oracle not really doing much right now. SOS trying to push this army back. The War Prism is getting targeted. He's going to lose it.
War Prism goes down, but the thing is, those Archons of stats have done so much splash damage. So many Zealots from SOS could not join this fight. Choked up, and now he's in trouble pulling the probes, and SOS is really hurt. He's trying to fight this. Here's the Immortals still in play. The probe pull kind of saves SOS for the moment. Wow, Stats is being chased away, but for how long? If that War Prism wasn't dead, Stats would win with this reinforcement wave.
His charge load count evaporated, but he looked like Stats is gonna be pushed back there eventually. SOS still lost 14 probes, so they're somewhat equal on the worker count here. And Stats is still pressing forward. He's finally gonna pull back. He's happy with the damage dealt here. I mean, he kills so many walkers, but SOS is still ahead here in that regard. And this, I guess they both got the same amount of gas income now, because SOS still hasn't taken the gases on his Expo, and Stats has yet to take the ones on his third base, but he now starts the +2 attack upgrade. That was the big difference. Stats had more, he had way more Immortals, he had way more Archons, and he controlled the fight very well. He attacked into SOS, and then he said, if I pull back here, your Zealots, they're not going to be in a great position to do the most that they can do against this army.
And it was the Zealots that were the issue, right? Because you had not just one line of Zealots behind the first line, you had like 2 lines almost. And it was this clump of Zealots, so much army supply of SOS that did nothing. And obviously they're clumped up, they're taking splash damage. And it puts Stats back in the game a bit, but he's not building probes. He's getting ready for round 2. Never started +3, really is just getting ready to attack again, and he will still take a fight with an upgrade lead if he goes soon. SOS though coming into the middle of the map as well, so is also looking for the option. I mean, just to stop Stats coming across even, right? If he can fight on these bridges, he's going to start sending Zealots in, but some of the Zealots not joining the fight. Stats is scared though, pulls back across the bridge.
Yeah, Stats, it feels like he wants to attack. So he's going to move inside of those bridges. He's taking the fight.
I kind of like it just because SOS, those extra Zealots are a little bit late, right? And again, you still have the advantage in numbers and upgrades.
Look at the supply now. Double the army supply for Stats. He smelled blood in the water, got the good trades in the previous fight, defended as he needed to. Up until the point he had a superior army, went for the attack, and he's wrecking SOS right now.
Yeah, SOS has absolutely nothing out left as he GGs, and Stats will take a Game 1 victory. Very well played, I have to say, from Stats. I love the trickiness of SOS's strategy, right? You take a super fast third, but you're not really using it too much. You're actually being very aggressive with a lot of gateway units. That scares Stats from taking his third base. He's a little bit unsure of what's going on, but in the end, Stats realizes, well, where is my advantage? It's in +2. It's in my Archon count. Yeah. And that's exactly what he utilized to, in the end, put him in a good enough position for the follow-up attack to then really dive the nail into the coffin.
If SOS had been able to set up a flank, you know, like let's say, like, you know, 12 Zealots came from behind in that fight, I think we're looking at a completely different fight.
Yeah.
And also, I think Stats had few more sentries, so he was able to work with Guardian Shield for way longer than SOS in this fight. But yeah, like having Zealots against more somebody that's relying more on Immortals, because SOS this game didn't have a robo up until the very end.
Yeah.
He opened Stargate, then when he turned a ton of gateways. So yeah, having Zealots doesn't always like matter that much. You know, they're not like the best unit. Archons are way better, and also controlling the position of the fight. And I think Stats did much better in that, thanks to a great timing and repositioning after he had initially engaged.
Wonder if SOS just missed his timing. You know, when he was on that side of the map and the 2 Adepts came into the third base and called, he's absolutely looking to try and fight there. Maybe if Stats feels safe enough to take a third, but Stats didn't. He pulled back to the natural, and then SOS is like, well, I'm not pushing into there. And maybe that's where it actually fell apart.
He could have just sat there, but Stats forced him to recall, thanks to those 2 Adepts.
Very true, as we jump on into game number 2 in the top right-hand side of Zen. Our Red Protoss player, this is SOS.
His opponent in the southwest is the player that struggled to name more than 2 maps out of this map pool. Africa Freaks Stats. That was the funniest thing. It's like,
which you'd imagine as well as the best of 5. It's like, wait, I've got to use more than 2 maps. It's like, oh no, I've never seen this one before.
He named 2 maps, and then he was like, GG.
Man, it's actually funny though, but it's such a good question, whoever came up with that, because it is actually kind of tough to think about these maps you play on every day when you put in that moment.
Definitely looked very good so far in that first game. Like, I feel like he was tricked But he didn't really let it get to him, you know, like he didn't like misreact to what had happened. He understood that there was an earlier third base from SOS, that he was going to rely a lot more on Zealots, and he hit the perfect timing. This is what I admire about these players, you know, like sometimes it feels like there's the one way you can win a game and they just see it and they go exactly for that attack.
Yeah, it was really nicely done by Stats. Again, he played to his advantages. Early in this game, the probes will avoid each other. SOS sends his off to the left-hand side as it came through the middle, so he sit there, and that's where his proxy pylon location will be. Stats for the second game in a row is not looking to be tricky. He's not looking to play mind games. He's just building everything in his main. He really is, from the start of this series, being who we expect him to be. Sit back, defend, not try and win off little gimmicks or anything, or maybe at least give that idea for the first couple of maps so that then his gimmicks can be a bit more successful down the road in games 3 and maybe even 4 and 5.
It's going to be a proxy gate this time, so 3 gateway push here. On a map where taking the second base with the, you know, the ramp system and everything, definitely is not going to be super easy here, so he's relying on the fact that you get vision so easily when you're the aggressive player. And he's hoping that Stats kind of goes into autopilot and he's like, well, I'm just going to open with a few, like I guess 2 Adepts, maybe 2 Sentries or 2 Stalkers, and then start a Nexus. But I mean, Stats is a pretty clever player himself. If he realizes what's happening, he's going to delay that Nexus and play a little safer.
Yeah. SOS actually really nicely pointed out by the observer. SOS didn't scout the pylon in the corner of the main, so he might think this is a proxy pylon. Obviously, Stats has scouted the lack of a pylon in the main base of SOS, so he definitely thinks it's a proxy pylon. And the Robo and the Shield Barrier, you know what? Stats is just saying, I don't care about your nonsense. I'm just going to play very safe here, cover my bases, and this is such a safe way to open here from Stats, and all he has to do is hold on. He's going to be in an advantage.
He's not having it.
Yeah.
He's going to completely respect what he scouted, but we have some big Stalker production here out of SOS. Stats needs to be careful. He's moving out with the Adepts here. Maybe looking to try and sneak past these Stalkers and apply some counter pressure. SOS is dropping a Nexus.
Yeah, this just like, it doesn't make sense. 3 gates, you know, you're meant to pressure, you're meant to put on everything you can. Now he's just like, you know what, now I'll Nexus. And this is where SOS is just being tricky. He's being weird.
If you don't get that pylon up, that could be a disaster. Does he have a recall available?
I mean, I guess so, right?
Nope.
No.
Oh my god.
Oh, he doesn't get it. Okay,
he wipes in 3 Stalkers, but that's going to be a lot of probes dead here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is a few Adepts as well, but at the same time, Stats, he needs to get something out of this Robo, but it's going to be a Warp Prism, so he doesn't even have much to fight right now. He might have to pull the probes against this while holding on for the Immortal.
He's already killed 10 on the other side of the map here. Stats needs to hold on back at home. He needs that Immortal as soon as possible. SOS trying to unpower those gateways here. He's microing very nicely as well with some of these Stalkers.
That second pylon, though, is really nice because at least Stats will keep some of his production up for a little while longer. Immortal's halfway done, so we are getting progress towards that kind of hold-off point, especially having forced a warp in at home. I don't think SOS has enough to overwhelm an Immortal here.
And he's just retreating here. He's giving up with the assaults.
So do you think he has Stats? Because obviously he's seen the Nexus. He might just say, well, you know what? I know you're 3-gating me. I've killed a lot of probes. I can just 3-gate Robo you in the counter-attack. You don't have a Robo. There's a Prism coming up. Yeah, you don't have a Robo. You're stuck on 3 gates and you've spent 400 minerals expanding and you've lost probes.
SOS is fighting like... I guess he's the aggressive, you know, if this was like an actual fight, like a boxing match, he'd be the aggressor, and Stats is like a counter-puncher. He's just waiting for SOS to go for the attack. He defends, and then he goes for the attack himself. The way he sneaked those Adepts here was so clever. I think he realized pretty quickly what was happening, and he was like, I can probably sneak past all of the Stalkers through the right-hand side, sneak inside of your main base, and get a ton of damage done. And then once that's happened, like, there is so much pressure on SOS to be the one to make a very specific move to try and come back. So now he's on 2 Nexus. Yeah, he's making a bunch of probes, but he's gonna need so many units.
Well, it's funny because he needs to cut probes, but if he cuts probes now, he's not even ahead because he's just been rebuilding to what Stats has.
Yeah.
He needs shield barriers, he needs units. You can see Stats is actually looking around for the pylon and the gateway because he knows it's somewhere. He knows what build this was. He's getting very close to finding it. That obviously takes away some production from SOS. And Stats, it looks like he's getting ready to expand on the low ground, but there's absolutely still potential for him to poke forwards, especially with this many sentries. You can drop some force fields and dictate how the map looks a little bit, and that should help you out in a fight, especially with 2 Immortals here. Yeah. This has got to be scary. The one thing that looks good for SOS is perhaps the fact there's so many Adepts, because Immortals won't do as well against Adepts as if this was just more and more more Stalkers.
But the prism is really scary here. It can save pretty much anything. It's very hard to target, even though we got a decent amount of Stalkers. sOs is not going to waste any time. He's going to get on top of this prism and take it out immediately. Has he done it? He's right on top of this army. There's still the 2 Immortals, but Guardian Shield is helping so much.
These Immortals need to target down some of these Stalkers, which they're starting to do. Man, this was just the perfect moment from sOs to jump on Stats' army. That Warp Prism was not expecting this to come from the right-hand side, and Stats has been fooled, as now sOs will clean up, and he took away every advantage that Stats had, and that is enough to get the GG. Stats was not expanding at home. He just had the probe there to fake it out. He was committed to that attack. He wanted to counter, and sOs jumped on it to take the advantage away from him.
There was no hesitation. He saw what was coming. His buildings were under assault, and he's like, you're probably not expanding. With this army size that you have, you're going to go for the attack. So I'm just going to make a ton of gateway units, land the correct force fields, and catching that prism. That's really also what allowed him to do this well, because then you can't pull back those Immortals here as Stats. You can't even reinforce into the fight, and it's just not ideal.
Man, another really great read from sOs, right? You know, the Nexus is kind of weird, but it almost gives Stats the idea like, oh yeah, I want to fight. And sOs is like, oh yeah, I know you want to fight. So I'm going to build tons of gateway units and no other tech still, and just jump on you. And if sOs doesn't jump on him, if he doesn't kill him there, the lack of tech starts to hurt, right? Yeah, you've got a Nexus up, but it's not going to stay around for long if Stats can start pressuring, etc. Really, just sOs is thinking a couple steps ahead right now. And
he's 10
really
steps ahead.
Yeah.
He's like, if I lose 11 probes, he'll probably attack and lose the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 11 probes being lost, but, you know, that would be the
calculated.
When sOs loses a worker, it's never a mistake. It just plays into his advantage.
He just wants you to attack so he can crush the attack.
You know what? I bet you next game he wars off the Adepts. He's like, mind games. He didn't expect that, did you?
What lads.
Game 3. Okay, well, we've got a series on our hands. These mirror matchups starting to deliver as we go into Simulacrum for our third map. Tied up 1-1. One of these players about to go up onto match point. Who will it be as we start on the top left-hand side? Our red Protoss player. This is sOs.
His opponent in the blue, representing Africa Freaks. It is Stats. Difficult game to kind of come out of and, you know, tell yourself, okay, it's all fine. Like,
yeah,
let's keep playing well. Like, he was definitely tricked in the previous game in thinking that, you know, going on the offensive was the right move. I mean, it might have been, maybe it came down to execution, but that was a solid hold from sOs. He already had so many units. sOs, like I said, there is no hesitation. You know, like he was on 3 gateways, and it's always so weird to see that, right? Because if he needs a shield battery, he gets it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't need a robo, he doesn't get it. And that was the case in the first 2 games. Even though he lost the first one, he played both times without a robo.
Yeah.
The absolute madman. Like the one time I played without a robo, there's DTs in my probe line. Like, this is absurd.
Yeah, sOs played the first 2 games with a similar idea, like trick him, do something weird, expand faster, maybe take advantage. In the first game, Stats really didn't fall for it, right? And he held off, because in the first game, it was the same idea. sOs wanted Stats to attack, to punish a 3rd Nexus, and in the meanwhile, he just built up a ton of gateways and had tons of gateway units. This time, Stats did take the bait, and he did go for that push, but this time, sOs, he had tons of gateway units, and obviously, again, leaping on that Warp Prism was so important. Just really kind of interesting to see the way sOs wants to play this matchup out. As we go into Game 3, where finally, for the first time in the series, Stats is going to be the one proxying a pylon, but not really looking to do anything with it. His probe's already moved away to the bottom left-hand corner.
I like that, you know, like just making sOs kind of try and guess himself. Like if you're sOs also, you might be thinking, okay, well, he might be the one to try and, you know, do something a little bit cheesier in this game because I've been the one being more so the aggressor than him.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice. Just, you know, a small move, then you have the probe out on the map for a while. Like sOs not only sees that there was a pylon missing inside of the main base of Stats, but also no probe scouted him yet. So it could have been anywhere on the map making something. So now we see sOs take extra measures. He sent his own probe. It's on the bottom left-hand side of the map. And actually that one will be caught here.
Yeah,
so he knows there's something at the bottom somewhere.
So yeah, he knows this probe has come from somewhere, and it just stuck around long enough from Stats to say, I might have built something more than a pylon. So sOs is working on incomplete info, but he's about to complete it as he does come in. He'll see that pylon, nothing attached to it. as Stats just takes a nice quick Nexus here. So he's going straight up to the Nexus. He's going to get ready to play. He's got a couple Stalkers, couple Sentries. The Sentries are great for force fielding out any attacks early, of course. And 3 Stalker, 3 Sentry opening before he techs against what is a faster Twilight Council from SOS. Let's see what he wants to do here. He's going to expand to, maybe then into Blink and apply some pressure.
He's building a pylon at the top side of the map as well. Usually, SOS will be the one to make Stats worried, but the opposite happened here in this game. Stats is the one with that nice pylon move at the bottom.
He just
that made SOS worried, and that so far it looks like it's going to allow him to get an earlier Nexus. Oh, Dark Shrine is going down from SOS. He's hoping that Stats will skip that Robo, and Stats so far, he's only making a Twilight Council. Some Stalkers are going to get trapped.
Nice force fields. He's going to get 2 of the Stalkers. He loses 1 though, so it's not for free. The Dark Shrine's a really smart play, but there's the Robo from Stats. Because I feel like you're showing this many Stalkers as well, it kind of feels like Blink.
Yeah.
But then the Dark Shrine comes down. Obviously, it's always a possibility. In this case, Stats will have a Robo coming up.
You know, it's super suspicious. Like, SOS is not supposed to make this kind of mistake where he gets force-fielded. Do you know why he got force-fielded? Probably because, like I said, he's 10 steps ahead. He's like, I want to lose the Stalkers. I don't want you to scalp me with hallucination.
Yeah.
And Stats having 600 IQ, he's like, oh, do you really think I haven't seen that on ladder before? Of course I have. This might be DTs behind this. You were trying to make me force-field. Immediately drops down the Robo. He's supposed to get Observer sometime now. Like, these guys are so smart, it's crazy.
Yeah, these guys are playing real well right now. The mind game's on next level. As a couple of Depths get in, and that will be 2 probes, probably oh no, shield batteries there, so just the 2 probes. And into Blink of his own, Stats will have Blink Stalkers versus Blink Stalkers. You can see an extra gate coming down from SOS. He's very ready to keep up the aggression behind this, more so than just the DTs. So we'll see how that goes, because Stats, after the Observer, I mean, starts a Forge now. Immortals are obviously on the menu eventually as well. And as long as Stats doesn't send his... I mean, he's going to send his first Observer across the map, but at least it's out. You can recall that back home if you have the energy, or you can turn it around, because the DTs are already coming forwards. It's not going to be all the way across the map when these DTs first hit.
And SOS is betting on that. He's going to run 1 inside of the main base and 1 inside of the Expo. Stats, you were supposed to know about it. I thought you realized what was happening. Now it's going to be a big struggle.
That's the recall on the Observer, I believe.
He's going to lose so many probes.
Yeah, he's already lost 7, right? Now you're not minding from the natural expansion. And this is SOS taking a worker lead, going to get a pylon on the natural too. Yes, it comes at the cost of investing into Dark Templar, but that's exactly what SOS wants. Slow Stats down now, and then maybe you can do something. Well, there it is. That's his choice. Expand faster off of it.
They're so good. It's crazy to watch. SOS immediately as the DTs rush inside of the mineral lines. He's like, what's the next move that I can do to get even further ahead? Drop down to 3rd base, you know, like delay those gases at the expansion. They're both going to be playing with Blink, but SOS having a healthy worker lead here is kind of forcing Stats to catch back up in regards to that.
You can see some Stalkers blinking in there. They get themselves another DT. Stats feels like he can get on the map, but he doesn't really have the Stalker count to take a proper fight. I mean, it's Blink against Blink. He's got a couple of Depths to go tanking for him. Is he going to go? I mean, if you Blink in the main, it's very committed.
Ooh,
you have no recall left. Yeah, he's going for it, but there's the recall from SOS. Okay, well, now at least he can blink away, right? But of course, SOS might be able to blink on top of him too. Doesn't go for it yet. A little bit late there. Maybe it was on cooldown from before.
Ooh, and he sent Adepts inside of the natural base. Sentries are going to push those back. 4 probes were lost here, and Stats is now back up on the probe counts.
Yeah.
And he might just find the pylon plus the Dark Shrine at the top. I think he realized that wasn't anywhere. Oh,
yeah.
They're just nice.
That's
These guys
really
are
nice.
monsters. They are playing so damn well, both of them.
Leaves the Dark Shrine up. Probably just doesn't want to get his Stalkers caught out on the map.
He saw that there was already a high Stalker count from SOS, and I mean, high Stalker count from SOS, he's got Blink. Of course he's going to be on the hunt for you out on the map.
SOS trying to Corona Bruce probes, but that supply block will not be helping him. It does show that he wants to kind of build that worker count up though and make use of the 3 bases. Meanwhile, of course, we've got the faster Robo from Stats.
He saw the 3rd base, right?
Yeah, I think maybe let's see that in a moment or two, as we do have the Immortals fighting. Obviously, with the Immortal here, SOS will struggle to do much.
Yeah, he saw it.
Okay.
So Stats now he has a choice. Does he take a late 3rd himself, or does he play aggressive? In the last game, he tried to attack when he thought he should. He already has the Templar Archives, but he still drops the additional Dark Shrine. I told Roddy 1,000 times, you should always get a Dark Shrine when you have at least 4 gases.
Yeah.
He didn't want to listen to me, but there it is.
But right now, SOS is way far ahead on supply. He's ahead in workers and in army. Now, the one thing you can say about his army is it's a little lower tech, right? There is a couple of immortals in Stats' army, and Stats has the faster +2 upgrade on the way as well. So there are advantages for Stats, but the overall state of the game looks pretty good for SOS.
Hallucination just scouted the Dark Shrine, but it kind of looks like a pylon while it's building.
Yeah. It's one of those ones you can mistake every now and then, right, when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
So we'll see if SOS is prepared for DTs, as might not even get to that state. This is a lot of units pushing across the map. Maybe SOS just looking to hit as he gets +1.
Yeah, he doesn't have Archon, so he can't break force fields. So force fields could be pretty scary.
Yeah, he's going to actually add the Templar Archives now and start backing off. It's very similar to game number 1 in terms of the compositions, right? Stats again, that high attack, faster upgrade.
That Prism, ooh, he needs to sneak past everything. Oh my god. No way.
Stalker's already on the top.
No way. He's fishing for that Prism. This is what can win the game for Stats here. It's that Prism with the Dark Shrine that he's getting. But he's going to be intercepted.
Yep,
no way.
There it is. Stalker's blink 4. He's going to try and recall it away, and it's just going to go down. Warp Prism denied, and that's 250 more minerals and Robo build time to replace. As we have this Solid is just chilling, watching a couple of Zealots charge in on him. One moment or two here as the rest of the army shows up. He wants to make sure you get rid of the Dark Shrine, right? Get rid of the DT threat from your opponent.
And that Warp Prism is almost like a big tell that there is something like a Dark Shrine. How many observers does SOS have? Because now DTs are going to start coming in. He's got just the one, but he's in the perfect location.
Yeah, he has cannons as well.
Oh, right? Wow. So he was completely ready. I think he realized that there was a Dark Shrine, got in position with a few Stalkers. I mean, it's so smart, right? It's either going to be at the bottom or at the top if a Prism comes. Sent his army at the bottom, left 3 Stalkers at the top. There is no avenue through which you could attack this guy. And now, 147 supply to 117. SOS is just doing great all around.
Big supply block for Stats too, by the way.
The DTs were a big investment here from Stats, and they didn't do really much at all.
Yeah, even this pile on the main base gets saved, so Stats really kind of failing on all fronts to kind of get more damage done.
He's like, how can I come back in this game? Drops down the Robo Bay, but it's SOS he's facing. I feel like he's just going to die before he can even reach anything.
Well, SOS is about to catch up on +2, right? And I feel once SOS hits +2, he's like, okay, maybe I can fight now. He didn't want to fight before. He sort of saw the setup. He realizes Simulacrum, it's a hard map to push up ramps on into bases. Maybe he can do it now with +2. He definitely seems to have the numbers for it, so SOS might get that win very shortly, Todd.
Oh, he got the Prism at the bottom. That's actually really sick, because now all he has to do is focus on defending here on that third base. He's going to start losing a lot of probes here. Stats needs to try and reposition. That's what SOS is doing right now. He's engaging, moving back, trying to reposition the fight to take an as perfect one as possible. But Stats loses patience. He's going to go for the fight here.
I mean, he's going well. He has +2 against no +2. That's his only advantage, really, as right now the Archon's coming through from SOS, doing a lot. He still has Zealots. The Blink 4 kills a Prism in the meantime, and there is just not enough here from Stats as SOS will keep cleaning up. He's going to be coming through here then as a couple more Stalkers come in. Warp Prism getting shot down, but it doesn't fall the Stalkers. It's a suicide mission. Unfortunately, they will die without achieving their objective, and SOS is going to take the lead in this series. The Madman himself is starting to put some faith in his fans who think he might be able to take this championship.
Artos is his favorite here, really delivering in these tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's Mirror, you would expect no less here from him, but when going up against Stats, he's not necessarily supposed to be like a big favorite or anything, but he's looking incredible in this series. So many smart moves. The interception of this Prism at the top, if that doesn't happen, he's in a world of trouble, because suddenly he has Dark Templars in his main base, natural and third base at the same time, and he only had one observer. That would have been a disaster. He didn't have the cannons ready at the time, but he gets the interception. And they're making so many smart moves. Again, like we're watching with, the entire map vision, so we kind of have to, try and guess and understand what's happening very precisely. But there's so many small, intricate details, and they're always reacting to one another. They're always going the extra mile with the scouting, and they're both so incredibly smart. Like, I'm so impressed with both of these players here so far in this series.
It does feel like SOS is making this series his series, right? Because he's the one that's constantly saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be willing to initiate maybe taking a third base. And Stats is always seemingly the reactionary player, which I don't necessarily think Stats is usually having a problem with. But in this scenario, it's kind of hard to be the reactionary player when you're reacting to something you don't understand, because what the heck is SOS doing, right? It's so off-meta. It's absolutely not what you expect. you know, multiple times we've seen third Nexi way earlier than you ever expect to see in PvP, and he's playing a style that kind of makes it work.
All right, here we go. Let's jump into map number 4 here. We're going to be playing on Triton and starting in the bottom right-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Protoss, representing Jin Air Green Wings. It's SOS.
As in the upper left, our blue Protoss, he needs to win this map right now to keep his tournament life alive. It is Stats!
I think Stats might have gone on a little bit of autopilot last game after he got the Stalkers trapped with the force fields, killed them, dropped down the Robo. It's like, all right, I'm ahead, I'm doing pretty well. I thought he might have realized that there could be something like a Dark Shrine, sent the Observer on the other side of the map. I mean, at this stage in the game, there couldn't have been a Prism. So imagine if he had kept that Observer at the natural, then it's completely safe. Then it's a totally different game.
And you've got the energy back at that point to send a new hallucination to scout the base as well, right? So how eager really are you to get the Observer across the map? I agree.
But that's what those games come down to sometimes.
Yeah.
One single mistake like that and that's it. Like,
well, that was
so hard to come back.
That was 7 probes, and 7 probes was the difference. That gave SOS a lead, fast third base off of it. And then Stats just didn't do anything. He couldn't find a timing to then punish SOS for what he was doing because of the worker losses. So really, again, slight mistake from Stats, and it costs him heavily. Going into this game 4 now, Stats makes his way across, but guess who's already set to proxy that pylon? It's SOS.
Do you think Maru has a preference on who he would like to face? Or is a Protoss a Protoss?
Well,
they have different styles.
These guys are going to play very different styles. I almost feel like Maru would rather play Stats. Because while Stats is really good at macro and really deadly, I think Maru believes in himself there as well. Whereas SOS, you just don't know what's going to show up in your main base in 5 minutes. And that can be very tricky to deal with as a Terran player.
You give him 2 minutes, you see like 6 Skyers, so like, what?
I think Maru prefers to play those long macro games, right? He's never shied away from that. Games where he can multitask and just, his late game mechanics are great, right? So yeah, I think Maru, I mean, it's kind of crazy because both these guys have stopped so many Maru versus Serral meetings before. It's kind of tough whoever he faces. They're both so good.
Well, so far it looks like the contender might be SOS. It's for Stats to start and turn things around. But with the pylon missing inside of SOS's main base, could already be starting to get a little paranoid here. Yeah, those probes actually got locked in on both sides, so it's going to be 2 probes dying from the get-go. SOS opening pretty safe this game. 2 Stalkers into 2 more, I think it was.
And now it's Sentry to 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
which is also pretty safe.
Yeah, super safe into a Nexus, so it's almost like he's expecting aggression. I'm going to do the most standard thing possible, go for a quick Nexus, and then after that, I'll drop my tech.
And Stat's also going to expand pretty quick. He expands off the Robo facility, so he slows down on some of his initial unit production. Doesn't get a Sentry until after the Robo is dropped down, of course. But eventually, it's overall the same idea, only SOS will choose a Twilight Council off of the Nexus. Quite often, the Robo is like the safer choice, right? You get a Robo, you can build an Observer. If you need, you can get an Immortal. Whereas the Twilight is just like, oh, I'm going to get Blink and get aggressive off my expand. And it's like, well, that doesn't always work so well in PvP. And I actually don't like it here for SOS because Stats is getting Immortals already. How much are Blink Stalkers really going to get done? Unless he's just going to be like, you know what worked really well last game, some Dark Templar. But he's not. He's going to go Blink, and he's going to keep it pretty standard here. As we have fast expand in PvP and extra gate already from Stats, though.
It's never just Blink Stalker. I love the location as well. It's like on the low ground. Imagine if you Stats, you see the pylon on the high ground, you might kill that and not even see the Dark Shrine down there. It's so, like, it looks so funny down there, but that's SOS for you. It's never just something. There is always the next step. He always thinks about all of the options.
But Stats is going to try and kill him right now. And the investment into a Dark Shrine that may not pay off before the units arrive. Obviously, the DTs can be used defensively, right?
Yeah.
But he might die before then.
Pylon. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Stats is he's going to have to defend as well. If the Observer is not in position, and I think he's probably going to want to rally that on the other side of the map, this could be extremely bad. If he keeps that on his side of the map, though, I really like Stats' position here. SOS, I don't think he's even seeing this coming, so he needs to scout it right now. Start chronoblast his gateways. Does he see it? He flew right past it. Okay, he's going to see more units. That's a big tell. Okay, that's a massive tell that something's coming.
It's too late to really do much, though. I mean, I think defensive DT is like the one way you go here. It's a really good time from Stats, but man, the Dark Shrine's about to finish up, right? And Stats
you don't have the force field.
No,
he doesn't need one force field.
Yeah, I mean, Stats will get a lot done initially. Couple Stalkers getting trapped, no blink ready just yet either. Like I said, beautiful timing from Stats. Can the DTs make a difference? They're ready to start warping in right about now, but so much already done here by Stats, and it will not come to the DTs. That's GG already, and Stats ties us up. I mean,
Stats is like, enough is enough. Make one go for one Dark Shrine one more time. I dare you. I'm gonna kill you right out. You're not gonna have the units.
Yeah.
You want me to go robo every game? You want me to play defensive? I'll attack you and break your shenanigans before they can even begin. I've had enough!
Final map will be Nightshade. And I'm not going to predict anything.
I mean, with the way they've been playing, there is an opportunity here for SOS to maybe do something like going for a Stargate. If you convince that the opponent, keeps on playing defensive with that robo and everything, some Stargate play could be good. If you're Stats and you've really picked up on the fact that SOS keeps on skipping that robo, be the one to hide the Twilight Council and the Dark Shrine on the map. And then you'll just kill him with DTs. Give him a taste of his own medicine. But obviously, all of these options are very risky. There is always a chance that the opponent kind of anticipates what's happening, maybe scouts it, and then you could be in trouble because then you have to transition. And so far, it feels like SOS has mastered those transitions a little bit more. But Stats' solidity in those games and how consistent he is with being able to get the defense at times definitely has shown his understanding of the game. I really like the timing here last game. I think he realized that in terms of tech, it was just better for him. He had Robo against somebody that was going into Blink, so he's like, I can just make Immortals and attack you. You maybe won't see the attack coming, and that's what happened.
Well, this is it. One of these players' Intel Extreme Masters run ends right now. Our previous champion in the bottom right, our Red Brawlers, can he keep making a run to get a second title? This is SOS.
His opponent in the blue, the Shield of Iron, it's Stats. Finally, we're getting a 3-2.
Yeah, it's going to game 5 for once.
We had to send Maynard as far away as possible from this venue.
Yeah, Maynard went out for lunch. Suddenly the game started going a bit longer. I think it's Roddy with the curse now, actually. He's, Maynard at least got a long TVT last night.
Yeah. It's really nice to see these guys go the distance here, and it all comes down here to Nightshade. And with what happened last game, I feel like if you're SOS here, you gotta be a little bit more wary than usual about Stats hitting those timings with the robo. So then what do? Maybe you play a little bit less greedy, a little bit less risky. Because sometimes, like, SOS is the one that will be willing more so than Stats to cut corners. Yeah. And that's what he was here. He was getting less units to get that Dark Shrine, and he was hoping to sneak some Dark Templars in yet again.
Oh no, Stats about to drop a pylon there, and SOS comes in and sees it, so... Well, that's kind of amusing. SOS does have a second probe already heading out on the map, deciding where he might want to go to proxy something, as this was definitely a bit of a change-up. Not sure if Stats wanted to build more than just the pylon, but he was definitely keeping that probe there waiting.
How do Stats is actually able to realize when that happens? Like, you can try and count probes, but it's not exactly a fail-proof strategy.
Well, the thing is, as well, the scout comes in when you're pretty much saturated too, so it's like, can you tell that? It's so difficult. As we do see the probe from SOS hanging out, there's the pylon start, and again,
it's like if you've never done it, you have a better chance on being able to count cards at the blackjack table.
Yeah. We actually see the second pylon again. So 2 pylons from SOS right now, faking the idea of going to the low ground and expanding. And, of course, 1 on the map. So this is something he's bringing back from the earlier match. And there is the Starg, exactly what he did way back when.
And he might be counting on Stats yet again, going for a robo.
Yeah.
In which case, you obviously have less units that are good against the Stargate, less gateway units. But he goes Stargate himself. I think that was the first game, right? Where we saw that scenario. And Stats actually got the shield battery just on time inside of his main base.
Yeah, Stats ended up in a really good spot there, right? And then SOS made it weird with the faster third base, etc.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens this time around. Shield battery already coming up in the main. Like I say, overall, Stats has taken every precaution he can, right? He's not cutting any corners. This is not a PvP where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this and this, and then the Oracle flies in your main and kills 10 probes. You're like, right? It's a PvP where everyone's been safe enough, or at least Stats has been safe enough to keep SOS away from dealing damage early, and obviously Stats a couple of aggressive pushes, but after like a couple of adept shading, he's not really trying anything too funky himself.
Yeah. I didn't really like the positioning of the stasis trap that he was using in game number 1. I hope he does a little bit better maybe with that this time around, but it's a Phoenix on the way here from Stats.
Yeah, Stats started an Oracle, he saw something, and he's cancelled the Oracle and built a Phoenix. And that is a dead Oracle unless you have a recall to take it home. He sees it as well as he's going to come in and what, you're going to hit this? I mean, Pulsar Beam's a mistake, because the Pulsar Beam's not going to kill anything before the shield battery heals up and the Phoenix forces you to recall. So recall is there, but that's a mistake. 2 adepts left in. The Phoenix can lift one up though, and if they commit, yeah, it's a good call, because usually you'd let them finish, right? Because you can still kill 2-3 probes. But if the Phoenix is there, one of them gets lifted, you don't get the damage done against the shield battery.
He wouldn't have gotten much and lost both of these guys.
Yeah.
So now Stats is actually pumping out Phoenixes, and we got an SOS kind of forced to go into Blink because he had dropped the Twilight Council. And he's yet again skipping the Robo. I feel like if the more they keep playing, for sure, at some point, Stats would have to go for some DTs. It's like, you have to punish him, you know, like, you need to teach him the lesson. He keeps on skipping that Robo for so long in every one of the games.
But I think this is fine for Stats because you're getting the Robo up, so you have immortal protection against the Blink. SOS does add on that extra gateway already, which again suggests getting across the map and doing something here. And let's see what he does from there, because again, this is the setup where he's been expanding quickly to the 3rd base and sticking very heavily on gateway units for a long time. Picked off.
Phoenixes, they offer the ultimate mobility here. You can fly around, try and pick off some probes. It's kind of going to keep SOS stuck at home with the Stalkers to make sure he can defend against the Phoenixes appropriately, because otherwise, the more probes that he loses, the more annoying this is going to get. Like, you can always expect Stats to be making probes very consistently on the other side of the map, and then he gets super far ahead on the side of the economy. And it's very hard to win from there if you're the player that is always losing workers.
He's back in the main base. I mean,
Blink is almost done, but not quite yet.
Yeah, Stats must have seen the 3rd base, right, flying around with these Phoenix, so he kind of knows what's going on. He starts his own 3rd base, which I like as well. The one thing I do worry about is the potential for SOS to still get aggressive, right? Because he hasn't got as much tech, so he can still swarm gate units and overwhelm Stats, perhaps.
SOS is moving out.
Yeah, I mean,
he thinks that Stats might not have enough, and Stats is actually going into charge here. So I don't know how many units he has exactly, but that 3rd Nexus might just get cancelled.
Yeah, let's see. It's obviously only Blink Stalkers for now. Only one Immortal makes that so scary. The Phoenix don't have much energy to help out in this scenario either, so looks pretty okay for SOS. You can blink in the main base as well, and Stats is not ready for that. There goes one of the gates he's building up as a revelation on the Observer 2. Nice spot. And he is going to blink back down, and now that 3rd base might get cancelled, Todd, because nothing is close enough to defend it just yet.
Phoenixes might go for the pickup here. Immortal is finally going to get in there. Can he save the Nexus? He's pushing SOS back. SOS moves back in one volleys. Phoenix almost. It's very low on hit points.
Blinks away as a couple force fields come down. Stats will hold the Nexus for the moment. An attempt from SOS to go in with the depths, but Stats is already there waiting. So SOS doesn't do much. Extra gates about to finish. Still just playing 2 gas off these 3 bases. Is absolutely committed to dealing damage here, preferably before Stats gets his +1 attack upgrade in play.
And Archons.
Yeah, and especially
if he gets, look at how many gateways he's adding.
Yeah.
Charge is almost finished already for SOS here. So you might just get a ton of Zealots and go for it here. Stalkers trying to do what they can here. The Phoenixes are picking off some of these. Ooh, he overextended actually. Lost quite a bit there.
A little bit of movement forward. He did kill one of the 2 Immortals that were out though.
And now Charge Lots are going to come in. There's no Archons yet. On the other side, SOS wants to punch himself into the quarterfinals and face Maru. He wants to get his ticket right now for it.
Yeah, these Zealots.
He might have the army for it.
These first Immortal goes down already, so Stats is in trouble. Second Immortal gets blinked on. He's gonna pull it back, but there's nothing to help it out. These Stalkers can obviously start blinking away as well. Temple Archive's done, but do you have time to get Archons here? Not really. Stats doesn't have the numbers as SOS strikes with this mass gateway army pushing through. Natural expansion starting to be in trouble. The supplies from SOS are absolutely too much to handle, and Stats seems to know he is in so much trouble. The Archon will fall. It will not get into play here. Not a single shot, and SOS is about to make it a Jin-Air vs. Jin-Air bout in the round of 8 against Maru. Stasis ward on the probes, and that is GG as SOS, previous Katowice champion, looks to do it again perhaps. Woo! SOS.
masterful performance in a matchup that really favors the heavy aggression. That was amazing here. He looked incredible against one of the best in the world here in stats. A guy that you can expect a lot of the time here to make the quarterfinals, to make the semifinals. SOS was the one running the show, and he gets the victory.